Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Cyber Rachel on X. And if this is your first time being here, I refer to my cybersecurity community as Cyberians. And since we will be diving into cloud now, I'll be referring to my new cloud community as Cloudarians. Okay, so hi Cloudarians. This will be our first lab with EC2. We are going to be using our canvas. For those who have been in AWS Restart program before, or you want hands-on practicals on AWS, let's do this intro to EC2 practice or lab with AWS accounts. So I'm an instructor, so kindly ignore the purple banner you saw before. Let's continue. So here we'll be doing 5 tasks. The first one we'll be covering is to accessing our console. We would launch our EC2 instance. We will name the instance. We will choose an AMI, that's an machine image. We will choose an instance type. We will configure a key pair. We will configure network settings, add storage, configure certain advanced details, launching an instance, monitoring that instance, updating the security groups, resizing the instance, and finally terminating it. So that will be the task for today. So as we know, you need to first click on the start lab, wait for the yellow button you see on the top left to turn green before you can log into the management console. That's the first step. So click on the start lab, wait for it to load. When it starts to run, it's going to turn yellow. Then when it is done running, it's going to turn green to tell you it is ready to be provisioned. So you have to wait till it turns green, then you click on the button. If you read the instruction for accessing the management console, you would see this. Okay, so let's wait, and as we wait, let's go through the steps we'll be doing today. All these steps are going to be taken or done. Now our lab is ready. Let's load it. Let's load the lab. Yes, so our management console has been loaded. We are now in our management console. This is a canvas, a trial, so ignore the red signs you're seeing. Yes, because this is, how do I say it, a lab given or developed by AWS for practice like this, and it shouldn't cost us anything. If you are doing this in your personal account, ensure that you are using the free tier, else you are going to incur loss. You're going to be deducted. So first, in our management, we go to our EC2. We first need to launch the EC2. When you follow the guide step by step, it's going to tell you to launch. If you click on the launch instance like I will do, if you click on the launch, you might not be able to do anything. You will not be able to do anything. See, let me show you. Okay, so you see, let's go through. When you click to launch an instance, you're going to see these things: the name and tags. You're going to see the operating system image, that's the AMI. You're going to see more advanced details at the bottom. You see, without us naming our instance and moving on, we cannot move on. You have to go back to inputting the name you want for the lab. Here we'll be using the name web server for our EC2 instance. So first click on the name, yes, then type in the name of the EC2 instance. If you do this, AWS will create a key pair. If you type in the name web server, AWS is going to create a key pair. All you need is create your web server. You don't need to actually name your EC2 instance web server. I am choosing to do this. this way. So yes, web server. Then you choose the AMI. Here we are going with the free tier for Linux. So we are going to choose the Amazon Linux, the default setting. That's Amazon Linux 2023. Then we choose our instance type. The instance type you want to choose is the T3 Micro. That is what is eligible for the free tier, T3 Micro. If you are doing this in your own account, be careful. Okay, T3 Micro. If you are not sure that the default has been selected, it has been selected as default for you, type T3 Micro to be sure. Okay, then we go to Keeper. After selecting the T3, we go to Keeper. So at the Keeper, we are basically going to be choosing no keeper, so proceed without the keeper, even though there's a keeper we'll be using, but we chose not to use it. So let's go to the networking settings. We will edit it. At the VPC required space, you click lab VPC. The lab VPC, this is for restart students. Okay, lab VPC. Then for the security group, you're going to type in a name for the security group. That's the web server security group. Then you give it a description. So you have to name your security group. What do you want to name the security group as? Web server security group. Then the description. The security group is the firewall for the instance. So for your instance that we are creating, this security group is what is either going to allow traffic into your instance or outside your instance, but we are trying to name it. So that is what you are doing, naming the security group. If you check the settings right now, our instance is not allowing traffic to our instance, cannot be reached. Okay, there's no HTTP protocol that's going to allow our instance to be reached on the internet. So yes, but we will discuss more into that later. So security group is the firewall for our instance. Then our inbound rule, you realize we removed it. We removed the inbound rule. That means we don't want any traffic from outside to reach our instance. That's what it means. Then we have to add storage. So at the adding storage, we have to leave it at the default 8 gig is good. Then expand the advanced settings. The advanced settings, we are going to be selecting the termination protection to enable. That means we cannot delete this instance. Okay, so to terminate this particular instance we are creating, you can't do it until this termination button is off. So we've enabled it. We will explain why we did that. Then we'll input a bash script here. So we are going to copy a bash script, input it here. What the purpose of this is to help us install an Apache web server, configure the web server automatically to start on boot, and activate the web server and create a simple web page. So what this you are seeing on my screen is if in case it's able to reach the internet, the message we want to see, and it's going to be done automatically. That is what the simple thing we are seeing over here. So yes, that's it about the bash scripting you just saw. So let's launch the instance, and that is it. Our instance is ready and running. So this instance that is ready and running, ensure that the status, the instance state is at running, and the status check is 3/3, like you see on my dashboard. So you have to wait a little bit. If you refresh and it's still not working, refresh the entire browser to get. Yes, so if you refresh within the management console and it's still not active, go to the browser and refresh it entirely. That is where you're going to see the status check at 3/3. Going to see the instance state also at running. So right now we're going to wait a little bit for these things to check before we proceed. So whilst we wait, we can be toggling around, checking the security, checking the networking. So at the security side, we are seeing our security group that we created to get. At the networking side, we are seeing what our public IP address. That is an address we can use to access from the web browser to get. Yes, and remember that we already disabled, we removed the inbound rule, so we cannot reach this particular instance. But for practical sake, you can choose to copy this instance somewhere. But before that, let's try to refresh it again to see if we can see our check marks. It's not still working, so we have to refresh the entire browser. Sometimes it's like that. Sorry. So if you don't wait for this check mark to be active, you might be encountering errors. So be patient for it to check. Get patient for it to check. Our next task we'll be looking at is to monitor our instance. Okay, we will be monitoring an instance. That is after our status check is ready. We need to monitor the instance to ensure that the system is reachable and the reachability of that particular instance. So when I refresh my entire browser, that is when I found the status check to be updated. So let's monitor the instance. You'll have to click on the server or the instance we created. When you select it, you go to the monitoring aspect, then you can monitor the instance. You are just going to see that the instance is running, and with the AWS logo, that means that instance is active. That is all you should be seeing for the monitoring aspect. So to monitor it properly, you have to click on the action button. That's on the top right. You're going to see the action button. So yes, at the monitoring side, you can see the graph. You can click on any of what you are seeing, the tabs you are seeing there, to check the graph, the CPU utilization, the GPU, and everything you need to, just like you do for your own personal machines in the house. You can monitor what is actually running. Now let's move on to actions. Select the monitor and troubleshoot option, and troubleshoot, then get instant screenshots. So this is just a screenshot of what is about our instance that is running. What you're seeing means it's running. So if you get that, you're on the right path. Then you cancel. After checking, just click on cancel. Now what you've done is you've explored ways of monitoring your system. You've been able to monitor your system to check if it's active, it's alive, and that is what we just did. So the next task, the third task we'll be moving on to, is updating our security groups. Before you do that, you have to copy your public IP address to a text document. Copy the public IP address, ensure it's being kept in a text document. Then yes, you can see mine is now copied. Then here we'll keep the tab opened. We will return to the management console. Open a new tab first. We'll open a browser, like a new browser, copy the public IP address we had, and then try and enter, try to reach it. Let's see what happens. Yes, this page can't be reached. Yes, we can't reach this page because if you remember clearly, we removed the inbound rule. So if we want to reach this particular page, we will need to go and update that particular security group again. So that is the next task we'll be doing, updating our security group so that we can be able to access the instance. So we go to our console. At the left panel, click on the security group we created, that is my web server security group. Click on that particular one. Yes. So select the inbound rules and then edit the inbound rules. Add a rule. So this will now give you the option of selecting which kind of rule or which kind of protocol you now want to access or allow. This one we are trying to access our instance from the web browser, and that is the HTTP protocol. So that's what you're going to select, the HTTP protocol, and we are going to select from an IP address, that's anywhere IP address 4. That means from a web browser, basically our instances, they still use the IP address 4. So we'll go back, yes, refresh the backend, and now because we've allowed an inbound rule, we can now access the server, and that's the message, hello your web server. That's the message we had. And if you remember, this is the bash script we imputed in the user data when we were creating it. So we go back to the instance again. We want to resize our instance, we want to resize it. So click on the server, go to the instance state, stop instance. Here we have to stop the instance will be stopped, it has been stopped. Now we want to change the instance type. Before you can change the type, you have to stop the instance. That's what we did. So we are trying to change the instance type. You remember we selected a T2 micro. Now we want to change it from T2 micro to T2 small. T3 small. It was T3 micro. Now we want to change it to T3 small, and that is what we are doing now. So we have to go to refresh. We have to ensure that the instance state is at stopped, not stopping. So you have to wait a little bit for the instance state to return to stop. It's still at stopping, so we have to wait a bit. Sorry. Action is now stopped. You see, we didn't select the web server, so we cannot go on. So you have to select the server and then repeat the process. Select the instance, go to actions, modify volume. So T3. So we are changing it first. T3 small. You can see the list is long, so you can just type in T3 small instead of going through the whole list. Yes, you will see it. Now you can just click on change instance type, and the instance will be changed. And voila, you've changed the instance type for an EC2 instance. But before you could change it, you have to stop it to change it from T3 micro to T3 small. That is what we've done. Now we want to resize our volume. Remember the default volume, we left it at 8 gigabytes. We want to increase it to 10 gigabytes. To do that, you still have to keep the tab selected. You go to the instance states. Yes, you have to keep the volume at the left panel more loaded. Click the instance you see over there, select the action button, and then modify your volume. So you can now increase it from 8 to 10. Then you click on modify. That is all. Here you've just modified your volume. We have successfully modified our volume. And now we want to start the instance again. We've altered the instance we were using before. We've changed the type of instance it was. We've also modified the volume. Now we need to start it again. Remember, it was stopped, so we have to start the instance again. So the only way, you have to go to the instance, select the web server, navigate to the instance state, and start the instance. If you did everything correctly, this part should work for you. So we go to the web server, select the instance state, then start instance. Yes, now our instance is back and running. That is it. Now the last task we want to try is to test our termination protection. You remember we enabled termination protection for this particular instance, so we want to test it whether it's working or not. And this is simple. You just have to try to terminate this instance. If it doesn't work, that means the enable button worked. If it works, that means there was something wrong, because we already enabled termination protection, so we shouldn't be able to delete this particular instance unless we go back to remove that termination protection. So here, to test it, you have to click on the instance, try to terminate it. Do not check on that button, just leave it there and try to terminate it. Yes, it did not work, and that is right. That is what we are looking for. So now, how do we now terminate this instance? We have to uncheck or disable the termination protection for us to be able to move on with it. And to do that, you have to click on the instance type, then disable. Yes, change protection, uncheck, save it, then now terminate it. And that is all. Congratulations, we are done with the first lab for the restart. Lab have been completed. One important notice: before you end the lab, kindly submit. Click on the submit button on the Vukarum. Click on the submit button first. Get the submission reports and your grades before you terminate or you end this lab. If you click on the end lab without clicking on the submit button, you are not going to get the grade. You are not going to get the one check. This is for people in the restart program. If you are doing this in your personal account, do not worry about it. But so you see, submit first, get your grade, then you end your lab. I hope you enjoy this session. Stay tuned for more hands-on lab on AWS. See you. Do well to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.